broadening into the healthcare sector, as I mentioned earlier. Biotech finally caught a bid. And then smaller down the market value chain, as you get into the mid caps and the small caps that are going to benefit from lower interest rates, there's a lot of good companies there that are doing business in a way that's not necessarily tariff sensitive, that are operating great businesses. So I watch mid caps. You can buy the mid cap ETFs if you want, or you can buy the small cap ETFs to get some exposure.
Can you explain, because some people might not be familiar from your website, can you explain the difference when you say mid cap, small cap,
oh, sure,
large cap?
Yeah. Small cap stocks, we're talking like 5 billion to 10 to 15, 20 billion in market cap, right? And market cap means the stock price times the amount of shares outstanding. The more shares outstanding, the bigger your stock price, the higher your market cap. NVIDIA, obviously the biggest of the companies in the world in terms of market cap. Mid caps are more in that 25, I would say, $200 billion market cap range. And these are manufacturing companies. These are financial services companies. Some of these are even tech companies or working on the fringes of AI or on the fringes of semiconductors. And they have fabulous businesses that are super profitable. And right now, you want to have very strong profit margins if you are a publicly traded company. This matters more than anything. Revenue per employee. How much productivity are you squeezing out of your labor force? How are you using AI to do that? And how is that powering your profit margins and your profits? Because at the end of the day, as investors, that's what we're paying for. Grow your profits because it's going to be reflected in your share price and in the dividends you pay back to investors. So in that mid-cap range, they're going to benefit from lower interest rates because these companies borrow a lot of money. And as rates go down and they refinance their debt, that eases the stress on their balance sheets and they're more profitable. And that's usually a benefit to shareholders. So I would look down the chain a little bit as well.
And then large cap. Did you talk about large cap?
Yeah, large cap are the biggest companies in the world, the 200 billion to now 5 trillion.
Mega cap.
Oh, those are mega caps. Those are the 1 trillion to 5 trillion. The large cap would be the 200 billion to $1 trillion in market cap now. But those ranges have expanded over time because we live in the land of the giants.
You had to update Investopedia because we didn't have a $1 trillion company until like recently.
You're right. I'll get right on that.
I wanted, because you sit in a unique seat, and we're trending toward the end of the year. I wonder, from a retail investor side, what are you seeing in people searching? Like, what are the things that people are looking into? I know there's a lot of talk of recession and what the future is going to look like. What are those trends that you're seeing from the Investopedia side that retail investors or any investor really is looking forward to on your site?
Yeah, we love it because we got 14 million unique visitors pouring in every which way into our site all month long. And they're all asking unique questions. Now, some of it is news sensitive. Obviously tariffs was a big deal this year, but we're going to come out with our terms of the year next week. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek because I got nothing but love for EYL and Market Mondays. But number one on that list is going to be affordability, which is the hot button of the year if there ever was one. Now, tariffs, obviously, but tariffs weighs in to the affordability issue. But we've also seen a ton of interest by folks in things like insider trading, which when you think about a lot of the deal making that's gone on, not just with this administration, but in past administrations as well, when you think about Congress people and their trades, that gets under people's skin a lot and they want to know what's going on. People have been fascinated with stablecoins this year because of the Genius Act and the Stablecoin Act, and they want to know what that actually means. And then, people are constantly fascinated with Bitcoin and its fantastic volatility. It's in another one of its famous drawdowns. So people have been looking into those terms as well. But when you think about, the way that people operate, when they want to learn something first and then take action or see how it's going to affect them. So for the first 6 months of the year, it was all about tariffs and the Smoot-Hawley tariff and how's that going to impact my 401k? And then people go from that to, what are the safest places I can put my money right now and still generate a return? We went from a very high sort of risk-on mentality at the beginning of the year with the market screaming to some pretty good gains, tariff scares in April, and that really scared people into safety assets. So the searches around gold and silver were extreme. And then you have those people that like to live on the edge that are looking ways to play these moves in the market through inverse ETFs, through the options market. And now, guys, this slamming together of probability betting, right? Sports betting, crypto trading, options trading, predictive markets, and the tokenization of everything, so that we're going to this 24/6 trading model where you can just buy a token of Amazon.com stock and trade that throughout the night. And then the stock market opens at 9:30 and Amazon stock starts trading. That's going to create a lot of price disturbances in the market. So people are looking into all of these terms. Sports betting was very popular on Investopedia this year, but so are the predictive markets.
Do you think that the rise in popularity of prediction markets, sports wagering, is because of inflation and affordability? Or do you think that once investors got a taste of higher than 10 to 12% gains, they're trying to recreate that momentum from the COVID era.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of that. The gamification of trying to make money, and the fact that people are realizing, we talk about this. I was on with you guys talking about the price of the American dream, which we priced out this year at $5 million. People look at that number. If you're young, you're like, never. I can't even imagine getting there. So how am I going to do it? What's going to be my way of doing it? The Wall Street Journal had a story today, I believe, about young men getting back into crypto because they think that is going to fuel their retirement. It might if you do it wisely, but so I think it's that desperation. Also, just social media and watching people gamble on TikTok constantly all the time, and sports betting has had such a big influence right now. And all these platforms that are getting together. ICE, the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange, put a couple billion into Poly Markets. CME, the options trading house out of Chicago, has a deal with FanDuel right now. So they all want to get into business with each other because they're trying to capture that betting gamification mentality. And for if that brings people into the market and turns them into long-term investors, hallelujah. We just all know, the four of us, that doesn't always play out that way.
So let me ask you this: as far as let's shake the room. You have an interesting perspective from where you sit, because you're looking at it from like the mountaintop as far as Investopedia and analyzing so much data, and then living in New York and having that vantage point as far as the financial markets. Okay, you said something about $5 million being the new American dream. Let's just go through a few different things right now. What is middle class? How much money do you need to be middle class in the tri-state area?
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you need a dual income of $250,000 at least to be even sort of scratching that surface, if you can, or at least a household income near that, because everything else, when you think about home affordability, it's at an all-time low, especially around here, and the rising price of just about everything else. So, you can get by. It depends on how you live, of course. But if you want to supply your family with good healthcare, right? You want to be able to send reasonable expectations, send your kids to school. It doesn't have to be an Ivy League school, but even a state school, a couple, $20,000, $15,000 a year, potentially. If you want to be able to take a vacation, be able to own a home potentially, and raise your family in it, all of these things add up to that kind of a number over the course of a year, and especially when you think about the taxes, right?
And housing,
right? I mean, the housing cost alone, that's going to be at $250. That's at least half of your nut right there. So half of your money going into housing one way or the other, it doesn't leave a lot for everything else. So that middle class number's gone up a lot. There's been a very provocative article by an economist recently talking about the poverty level being raised to 140,000. I think that's extreme.
Let's talk about this. Let's go viral. So you're saying $250,000 is minimum
in New York
class. So that means if you make less than $250,000, what are you?
Yeah. Well, you're striving to get to be able to afford what is reasonable expectations for a family. We're talking about wants. We're not necessarily talking about needs. Can you raise a family on less? Absolutely. And millions of people are doing it. But to be able to have those basic wants. And again, I'm not talking about anything crazy. We surveyed our readers. These are things that everybody thinks are reasonable. An annual vacation, maybe having a pet, buying a new car every 10 years or so, being able to raise a family in a house that has a couple of bedrooms, maybe 2 or 3 bedrooms in a safe neighborhood, and take care of your family's healthcare. That's kind of what it's going to cost you. And that feels like middle class, reasonable expectations. So if you're not making that, you are coming up against a paycheck to paycheck, on the verge of a financial emergency really setting you back type of a situation. I'm not saying you're low class. I'm just saying that threshold for middle class, especially given taxes and housing costs and healthcare costs, that means you're going to have to earn that type of money to make it work at that type of lifestyle.
140 poverty line.
Can I read a stat really quick? I pulled up on ChatGPT. 100,000 in 1980 will be the equivalent to 380,000 to 400,000 today. If we go out to 2035, you'll need 500,000 to 510,000 to keep up with inflation. That's insane.
It's insane. It's insane. Now, families make it work. People are creative. We know lots of people that are never going to make that amount of money that are still raising their families and doing all the things I described because people are creative about how they do things. But just think about, just the rising costs over the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then if you were trying to start out right now in New York City or in the tri-state area as a young professional, how much that would actually cost you, how much you would need to make to have just, a reasonable expectation of a nice lifestyle.
Something happened today, Caleb, and I'm glad that you came on tonight. I'm gonna go geopolitical here. The U.S. opened up exports for NVIDIA to sell the H200 chip for China. I wonder what your thoughts are on it, right? Because the first part is yes, the U.S. has to okay it. The second part is that China has to say yes, we want you to sell it. We don't know where that's gonna stand. The other part is it too late, right? Like, is the H20? We're already 2 cycles now since then. Is it too late for us to try to get this demographic of revenue back, or are we in the right space, right? Because there was some talks that, yes, when you talk about AI and you're talking about Huawei, where they're at in development, it's still they said about 2 years behind where the H200 is. Meanwhile, the H200 is 2 years behind where Ruben's going to be. What are your stance on it? What do you think about the move?
Isn't it fascinating what we're talking about here? Semiconductors really as the arms race of the 21st century. And that's what it is. And it is an all-out arms race. So if you talk to any of these superscalers, it is win at all costs, right? There is no second or third place here. So I think even though those chips may be a little bit delayed and sales into China have been delayed, and that's all part of this whole tariff negotiation, by the way, that is right in the middle of it. NVIDIA's chips are right in the middle of this, along with Argentina's soy, by the way. They're right in the middle of all this. So not too late, but you have to also wonder why that is happening now, right? What is the next shoe to drop right after that? And it's going to be, some reduction in tariffs between the U.S. and China and the retaliatory tariffs, and we're going to back off of that. And there's going to be meetings again until something else flares up. And then all of a sudden, those chips are going to be taken off the table. We've seen this kind of a cat and mouse game. But in terms of development, NVIDIA is still the number one dominant market share leader, 80% market share. You talk about monopoly. You talk about dominant market share, 80% market share in those high-end chips for AI centers right now in data warehouses. And the demand is insatiable, and China is building these out as fast as humanly possible. They're going to need every chip they can get their hands on. That's why this is in the mix right now. But if negotiations turn south again between the U.S. and China, you're going to see that deal probably taken off the table.
Can you talk to us about the downside risk of selling our intellectual property or chips to China in the midst of the BRICS versus U.S. and EU war, and why that could be a negative thing for us?
Yeah, I mean, basically we've lost control of our data completely anyway. But this just makes it worse, and this just is exactly why we had the tariffs and the Treasury Department not allowing the sale of Huawei components into the U.S. because they were allegedly stealing our intellectual property as well. If we think that this are somehow going to protect our intellectual property, then we're completely blind to the fact that it's already out there. But who has actual control over it and what they can do matters, and it matters when it comes to things like banking and healthcare, right? The 2 things that matter the most in terms of our privacy are our healthcare and our financial information. And if that gets exposed, or that is somehow worked into a deal because of the swaps of these assets or the opening up of these markets, you know what's going to come next, right? There's going to be data breaches, right? There's going to be emergencies. Cybersecurity is going to become even more important, and we're going to have the next patch to fix the next problem. And that has been a great sector to invest in because of situations like this. And I can't see that changing. I see that plus the sale of TikTok assets all wrapped up into the same combination of vulnerability of our intellectual property, which has become the most valuable asset in the world, and the sale of these chips, which are the transport mechanisms for our intellectual property. I'm scared.
I am as well.
Well, Caleb, thank you for coming. Appreciate you as always.
Of course.
Yeah, it's important information, and you got to tell it like it is. And you definitely do that. So any last word, and also tell people about, Investopedia if they're not familiar, and then everything that you got going on, and yeah, let them know anything.
All right. I appreciate you guys. I do. And we've been doing this for a while, and I'm so glad that we became friends over the years. So thank you so much for including me and the EYL fam and the people that I get to meet at InvestFest and everywhere I go with you guys. It really is one of the proudest things in my career. So I appreciate you. I know you know that, but I want to tell you and tell all the people tuning in right now, get your merch because this is where it's at right now. Investopedia has been around for 26 years, and that is like 260 real years when you think about internet years. And we're still here, despite the fact that you could look a lot of things up on ChatGPT or pick your AI tool to do it. There's something about authenticity and brand and expertise that I hope that people still recognize. And I think they do, given how big that we are and how many people are always giving me love. So we appreciate that. And we are real content made by real people, real editors, real financial experts. And yeah, we got to update things from time to time because we've got 40,000 pieces of content on the site, but we're a free resource for financial literacy, for financial education, for investing education, for all questions money. If you can't find it on Investopedia, you DM me and I'll get you the answer you need. We'll make sure we update the site. But we have big plans for 2026 when it comes to making sure our content is there for people right now, especially with all these other potential distractions, of making sure we have the authentic content, but also doing more in-person events like, joining you guys, which is always so awesome, and doing events across our parent company, People Inc., which owns great brands like Food and Wine, Travel and Leisure, InStyle, Real Simple, Better Homes and Gardens. We're a proud part of that family. So you're going to see me doing a lot more with them as the chief business editor for People Inc., telling the business story of just about everything. And we'll mix that in with what we do here at Investopedia. So it's always a delight to be with you. Please follow us at Investopedia. You can find me at Caleb Silver. And, I love you guys. It's always good to spend time with you.
Love you too.
Are you going to use AI? Because you said something that when you said you have real editors that actually write.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that's sustainable long term?
Yeah, and the way we will use AI is what I think is the way that I think should be used for a site like ours. Think about what I said: 40,000 plus pieces of content. There's like 6 million words on Investopedia, but a lot of the same types of questions coming into the site all the time. That's what we were built for search. So we still have a lot of that data. But when you, Troy, if you or Rashad, if you come to our site and you say, "What's the best way for me to invest $10,000 right now?" and I ask that question, I better get a different answer than the one we're giving you. You're young, you got your whole investing future ahead of you. I'm in my mid-50s and I'm in a different part of my career. We all have different situations. So we're going to start to use tools like that and learn language models through our own content and what we're doing here at People Inc. to give you the best answer we can possibly give you. That is a little bit more personalized. That's more tailored to you. That's a good use of AI for us. We're never going to use it to write articles. We're never going to use it to edit articles, but we do it for things like to find out what's going on. Here's a great example of how our research team uses it. There's how many finance podcasts out there? 10,000. I have one of them. You guys have a terrific one, right? We want to know what people are talking about, but we're not going to go listen to all of them. Now I'll listen to this one, maybe my own, but we'll have AI do it and say, give us the top 10 themes every morning of what people are talking about on podcasts. Great way to start research to think about what you write for news that day. Similarly, we'll use it to scrape a bunch of content that has lists of, best performing ETFs or best performing this or that over time to make sure we're up to date. That's just research tools using it. But ultimately, we want to get readers the best answer for them. And the best answer for them has to be nuanced and personalized in a way that we can actually help create using our own content and our own learned language models. And that's how you'll see us probably using it, never using it to, write a bunch of definitions, because we've already done that and AI scrapes us anyway for that.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you, my brother.
Man.
Thank you,
One of my
guys.
favorite people on earth, man.
Caleb, I got acting sawfish for you when you're ready, man.
All right. I'm ready. I'm ready. Good to be with you. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Man. Happy holidays, my guy.
Okay.
Love Caleb, yo. Good person.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's been amazing from the day we met him.
Yeah.
Shout out to Caleb, man. 140,000 is poverty line. That's crazy. We're going to talk
I
about
think he said you're striving. I think
No, but
40.
250.
Yeah,
Well, he said
in the
the
game.
140 is
Striving.
no poverty line.
No, we're going to keep it real. We're underwater.
There was a new article that came out that said 140,000 is poverty line. But there's rationale behind that.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Like where you live. It's the point. Like I said, I think
CPI inflation.
Right?
yeah, trust it.
Yeah,
Trust it, yeah.
Yeah.
But they printed a map this past weekend, even in places like Indiana, numbers 133. That's insane. That is absolutely insane.
Man.
Mm-hmm. Invest or die.
Invest
Keep
or
telling
die.
us every week. Like, it's not even optional anymore.
That was part of the conversation. We heard Elon Musk say that Vlad had mentioned it first, and Vlad Tenev, I'm speaking of, had mentioned it as well. And I kind of wanted to know what he thought about it, because it felt like it was aligned and everything pointed to investing. And he was flat out and said, "Look, if you don't invest, I don't know what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, not an option." And so, when we say invest or die, that's serious.
And inflation is they're not putting that cat back in the bag. It's a combination of factors, BlackRock bond of home, all that, but inflation is not going to come down anytime soon.
Well, the good thing about it is not to be a doomsday situation, because in the United States of America, there's 1,000 millionaires made every day of the year, 1,038 to be exact. every single day of the year, 1,038 millionaires are made in America. So you always got an opportunity in America to get to that next level. If you really think about it, that's a lot. 1,000 millionaires every single day.
It's promising.
So if you really focus, and I hate to be that guy, the motivational speaker guy, but I mean it's true. Sometimes in life you gotta sacrifice and
avoid lifestyle creep.
Take some years off, and have some level of pain. But there's a lot of negative things we can say about America. But one positive thing we can say about America is that you can make it in America financially. You could become a millionaire in America, and there's 1,000 people every single day that become a millionaire.
Choose wisely.
Thank you for the positivity in my doing.
Will it be you? Will it be you tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're already making the first step if you're watching Market Mondays.
That's a fact.
True indeed.
There's millionaires that have been made watching this show. They
Absolutely.
I think that's the most flattering compliment that we can get is, look, man, look at my brokerage account. I'm a millionaire. I'm just like, wow. Growing up, we come from the same community. I didn't know one millionaire. So for somebody to walk up to me and say they listen to information that they heard on our show and their lifestyle has changed, their brokerage has changed, their family has changed because of that, it's the most uplifting compliment. It's like, all right, let's keep going. Let's go.
And you can change your situation quickly too. When I say quickly, 5 years, 7 years.
Even 3 if you really lock in.
Yeah. I mean,
stay inside, avoid lifestyle
even
creep.
10 years, if you really think about it, 10 years in the grand scheme of your life, that's not a long period of time. Like, you could really make a couple decisions, buy some real estate, invest in the right stock, start online. Like you'd be surprised. You can go from barely making it to having $1 million in net worth.
Just execute.
Stay low, keep firing.
Stay low, keep firing.
Stay low, keep firing.
Lifestyle creep. Take 20% of the capital from the business, put it back into the market.
Stay low. Stay low.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
They snubbed y'all at the Streamer Awards. Shout out to the Streamer Awards.
Shout out to Kai. Shout out to who won the joint?
I mean, there was a bunch of
Speed won Streamer of the Year. Yeah.
Speed won Streamer of the Year.
Yeah.
Kai won seven awards.
Yeah.
Shout out to them, man. They doing their thing.
Well deserved.
Shout out to the Clover Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to them.
Okay.
Shout out to the Bronx.
All right.
And we got to use it as motivation.
Motivational purposes only. Don't use it to get discouraged. Use it as a. In order to win the game, you got to know the rules of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people that's playing the game without even knowing the rules of the game. That's like saying, okay, if I don't know how many points I'm gonna score, like when I work out, my trainer, he gotta tell me if I'm a bench press, I gotta know whether I'm gonna do 4 sets, 6 sets, 8 sets, 12 sets. You can't just say, okay, just bench press 200 pounds. How many times? Because even if I might only feel like doing it 6 times, but if he tells me 8, now I know that if I do it less than 8, then I've missed the number. If I do it more than 8, then I've actually overachieved that, right? So the first part of actually winning any game is knowing
the rules,
what the game is, what the rules are, with the the numbers that you have to hit. Like you gotta at least know. So now you can say, okay, now I can have a benchmark of where I need to go.
And to tie into the interview this week, for all my entrepreneurs for the next 4 years, find out a way in your business to invest in and find ways to attack markets that are not currently being served. Caleb talked about it, the overcrowded trade. 70% of hedge funds are in the AI trade now. Highest concentration ever. Find a way to rotate to the thing that's going to be next. That's where your breakthrough is going to come from. So.
Your breakthrough won't come from watching this. I'm going to be honest with you.
Hello.
I'm just going to be honest with you. If we look at, and I'm actually going to do a year in review in the next class. We watch the year in review. It's here.
Insane.
There's so much information. If it's not coming from us, from the people we brought on, from the things that we're exposed to, that we get to share. No, bro, it's here.
We got to execute.
That's it.
Yeah.
Why my man at Berkshire leaving?
Also comes from EY University and Red Panda, making sure you tap in, exclusive learning and in-person masterminds. And everybody take advantage of that. You will be getting correspondence over the next week.
Yeah.
Probably next week about NVIDIA, TRIP, in-person mastermind, DC. Man, so much stuff. We got options class coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We got
cooking.
Open enrollment for EY University.
That's this week.
Red Panda call on Saturday, I believe.
Sunday.
Sunday at 9.
Yep.
It's a lot going on these days, man. But man, I'm proud of everybody that's watching the show because you're taking your education serious in a time where, so much has been said about the Diddy documentary. It says a lot about the times that we're in. When that documentary is number one in 50 countries across the world, what you pay attention to is going to determine your future. So, so much things that you can focus on that will actually better your situation. And the vast majority of the people choose to focus on things that, although they may be entertaining, they have no value to your life.
Zero.
And it's a good lesson too, from a karmic standpoint. You got to be careful when you throwing rocks in that glass house.
Yeah.
Gotta be careful. But fellas, move wisely.
Please.
At all times. Anything
Move
we
with
need to talk
integrity.
about?
I just real quick, big, like I said, Catalyst events. We got Fed decision on Wednesday, Oracle reports on Wednesday, Broadcom reports on Thursday. So make sure that y'all tapped in to that. And then Micron. I always talk about Micron. They're going to be reporting next week. And so I like all Micron. Y'all already know I love, and Broadcom for sure. But circle those down. If you're not in the know, pay attention to those.
DoorDash director Alfred Lin bought $100 million worth of DoorDash. DoorDash is now Uber. I want to say that again. Target is testing new fulfillment options for delivery orders online. Target board, find somebody black to be a CEO and find a way to give back. You can do all this AI inclusion bullshit that you want to do, but you better call Dr. King, Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Well, they call magic.
They did.
You got to call all the black Avengers together and then the whole black congregation of all people and say that, look, I'm sorry, we're going to do better. This workaround that you're trying to do, your stock is going to remain in free fall. Sometimes you just have to apologize and say, you know what? I'm so sorry. Lo siento. It's over with.
And they're going to get MAGA. They're going to get MAGA mad if they do that.
Did y'all see the Waymo hit 450,000 weekly riders? Mm-hmm. We were talking about autonomous. This is when you start to see those numbers start to tick up. Waymo, which is owned by Chat, owned by Google. Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? So they're outpacing anybody in autonomous already. Be mindful of that. 450,000 weekly riders, and they're only in like 6 different cities right now. That's going to increase in 2026 and 2027 for sure. Be mindful of how that compute works. Obviously, Google is a beneficiary of that, who they partner with. We talked about Uber. Start putting those dots together.
Any questions? Put in questions for the last couple of minutes if you got questions. Ian, talk about the trading tournament. And somebody had asked the question and said, any tips for the tournament?
I gave my tips last night on the Stock Club call, but I will say this. Select your target that you're going to trade consistently. Do not deviate from it. The trading tournament, for your chance to win $50,000, you have to be in this week's tournament. The link is in my bio. If you go to Instagram, click the link in my bio, you can register. It is absolutely free. The top 25 people will be able to go to the next round starting next week, and the winner will win $50,000. But most important thing in any tournament or trading is to focus on your lane, run your race, and don't deviate. And I know it's not the answer you want because you're like, well, what's the point total? 80% of people are going to lose by overtrading. I guarantee it, because everyone wants to front run to brag. The person who's most dangerous in life and dangerous, in my opinion, is a person who can win, stack up the money, and never say a word about it. That's why Troy says, stay low, keep firing. When you want to get online to brag, God's going to say, okay, now you're showing off. Now you're going to have a $15,000 loss. Take your trade, get your coin, stay out the way. And if you come out these wins 4 or 5 days in a row, you'll be A-okay.
Yeah. We had in our notes that IBM acquired Confluent for $11 billion.
Yeah, for $11 billion. Yep.
I think those type of acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions, are important, but they're very interesting. I think what it really talks about is time, in a sense that, especially some of these large companies are looking at the time it's going to take to try to develop it for themselves and realize they don't have that amount of time. And so the fastest way to get it is figure out who's doing it, because we need to acquire them, right? Rather than saying, let us build it out. Like, and we've seen that, which is why when you talk about a Meta or an Apple who's saying, like, we'll build our own chip. But in the meantime, we need to figure out who we're going to use, right? Because that's going to take time. you're going to start seeing a lot more of that, especially in the AI space. Is like, we don't have the time to do it.
We don't have the time.
Let's figure out how we can acquire.
The time decay on missing out on this investment. That's why I don't get the criticism of Meta. Man, talk about legacy companies having to adjust. IBM has done an incredible job since 2020. I find a way to claw through this publicly traded market. 2020, they were at like 102 or not. They got down to 92. They're currently at 309. Great job.
Yeah,
Amazing job to figure a way to claw back.
It's almost like plug and play. What piece do we need to make this complete, or what piece are we missing in this structure? How can we add it? That company does that. Let's figure out how we can add that to our puzzle.
Justin said, what do you think about Republican Robinhood's tokenization of private company shares? We actually talked about that on the episode with Vlad this Thursday, but it's definitely going to be a game changer if it reaches, mass adoption. If it reaches scale, if it definitely scales, then that's going to be an opportunity that's going to be able to change people's lives if it can actually get, mass adoption, scale, and be able to take off the way that hopefully it can take off, because public markets is one thing, but the money that you make on the private side is never going to be the same as if you make it on the public side. So,
we just saw that with was it SpaceX? Which company did Elon? The new valuation is 800.
Yeah,
800 billion.
Well, before we go back,
no, let me just finish that though, because when you talk, I actually got a text about, hey, I was in that when it was 100 billion, and now we've just 8x'd our money.
Yeah,
and that was just like a 2-year investment. And so this is the type of access that something like that will give to the average person, right? Like, how would you even know? Like, you'd have to be inside of a circle that actually knows somebody
on the private equity side,
and it doesn't happen. Like, you're just not going to walk into these people. But this now opens up that playing field.
We said this. The greatest story ever is Peter Thiel.
Mm-hmm.
Said that 2 weeks ago. He turned $1,400 to $50 billion.
Yeah.
And I want to be very clear. If Robinhood finds a way to democratize investing into private companies, that stock will be $600-700 in 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, for sure. So
SpaceX valuation.
So I mean, CoreWeave is CoreWeave claw back.
All right,
let's be honest. Nope.
No. Hold on, because one of the things we had was if tech companies are at risk for bailouts due to failed AI investments, what are some of those companies? And I put an asterisk next to CoreWeave only because of the debt structure that they have. Their guiding light is that NVIDIA is an owner and has taken ownership inside them. But again, their structure, you're taking on depreciating assets in terms of GPUs. So every time that you need to lease them, it's always going to be an older model. And the amount that you're paying for the infrastructure to build out data, it has to go perfect.
Step on chip play.
It has to go perfect, right? And that's if NVIDIA is the choice, right? Is that long-term, how long will the dominance happen? Is it a 20-year dominance before everybody decides that they're making their own? We don't know, right?
Before every company decides to make their own chips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, how long will NVIDIA's dominance be right now?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right. And so you're reliant on another company for your revenue in a sense. And that always feels tricky to me. I still like it. I just think there's some holes in it.
Is it B tier or C tier?
I got it at probably a C. I probably got it at a C. Yeah, I probably got it at a C.
I agree.
Probably got to see it. But there's some other ones. I thought when you talked about Duolingo, I would put them in that category. C3 AI, I would put in that category. SoundHound AI, Big Bear, all those companies that the debt structure is relying on if this AI system, and they all do different things, obviously, inside of AI, but it's heavily contingent.
Yeah, for sure. Thanksgiving, we will be in DC on Friday.
Yeah.
Speak at the Thanksgiving conference. Shout out to DC. We'll be there Friday. Get your tickets. Somebody asked about UI University. Yes, options class will be coming in 2 weeks, but you can download the app if you're in UI University and watch previous videos. And in the community, there's people that talk about different stuff, trades, when options, and all day.
Yeah. So check it out. I just put a new one in on Friday.
Download the app, EYL University app, and go to the orientation to this week. That's going to go over how to navigate the app, all of the clubs, all of the education that's available inside of EYL University.
So go inside the community, and people always ask, where do you find it? Inside the community, I'll usually post inside there. And if you look at the post I just put up about Micron, there's some great, I love the questions that come from it, because it's like now we can get into a little bit deeper talk. and you can start seeing how the dots are starting to get connected. And so there was a great question about Micron in terms of memory and how they were leaving the memory sector. And it was a great place for me to say, oh, great question. I see how you're thinking, but here's actually what's happening. And then it peels the layers onto why I'm looking at another company. So definitely take advantage of that.
In this AI race, which company is uninvestable for the next 2 or 3 years? Last question before we wrap up.
Who's watching? Which one is uninvestable?
What do you think?
I wouldn't say that they're uninvestable, but I wouldn't deploy any money into Salesforce. I think they're too far behind in the race. I think Salesforce would be a tech value stock going forward, but I'm not saying it's uninvestable.
That's tough. I'll say,
and for the person who asked about UPS, there's other places you can deploy way more capital. And
it's uninvestable in the sense that it's a private company. So I'll take that. Anyone that's private, Gronk, OpenAI, those companies from a public.
You smart as hell. Oh my God. I was like, wait.
They're privately traded. So until
well played. Until Vlad.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right, y'all. It's been real. Tap in. Blackout on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Earn your
Who will
leisure.
get in trouble this week?
Never know. Earn your leisure 6 o'clock on Thursday, Vlad 10F. And yeah, that's the deal.
Yeah. Love is love, y'all. Y'all be good. One text, one phone call, hit your people up, show some love. Be good to each other, man. Be good to each other. Love is love. We out. Peace. Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers, yo.